I'd like to say thank you to everyone for coming tonight. And I'm going to talk about offer a topic of discussion as the guest speaker. And so I'll start now. The topic is when you can't stand the endless cycles of suffering anymore, you begin to awaken. That's a quote from Eckhart Tolle. As I am in a state of suffering, I notice that I am confused, frightened. Parts of my body are in physical pain, heavy amounts of stress, anxiety, unstable emotions, cycling anger, desperate thoughts, depression, cognitive distortions of my thoughts, not understanding what is happening to me, not trusting any or many people, nor trusting life any longer. This is the way my mind worked before I started working with it as an ally. Instead of opposing myself, first to apprehend when my actions may be dualistic and therefore producing hurtful actions, disruptive outburst. Reducing the need and desire for my attachments, the want for something I see or feel or to be or not to be, that are momentary, so fleeting, forming and dissolving into the next moment. Lingering thoughts of desires, unfulfilled, conflicting emotions of good and bad, filling me with doubt, confusion, fantasies that become more vivid, defining my greed of having to be the best, the individual. Okay. What is the true cost of my ignorance, greed, and delusion? Endless suffering, as long as the delusions are maintained. The ignorance will continue along with the greed of wanting to possess, and the delusion is supported. We humans experience pain for a reason. The origins are often unknown to us at that moment, though suffering nonetheless is expressed through this present moment, which has a spiritual trail following, karma. While a duality forms a split in my psyche, it and me, which was a path to a darker side, one in which I had turned from my own inner light. I offer references to me, I, mine, my for convention in this dialogue. Day by day, I put in place a self-imposed dark ages, blocking the truth with my own myopic perspectives. I had created a schism between me and I, them and us. One is better than another. And so started the descent of my spiral into an absence of light. All the while I thought I was making decisions that seemed perfect to get me out of the mess I was in at the time. A quick fix in desperate moment in an epoch of chaos for me. Metaphorically, I had to watch my house burn down around me for me to be conscious of what I was holding on to was nothing. The real connection I was looking for was nowhere around, I believed. Again, with no place to stand, no thing to hold on to, I think to myself. And this became my mantra, returning to the source again and again until there was no separation between me and anything else. No need for yes or no, right or wrong, no judgments needed at all. By not knowing, developing prajna in deep listening and compassionate speech, with loving actions, I take a breath, beginning in all that, bringing in all that is needed to be in the stillness of now. Entering each moment, my mind and heart that has but one beat, one breath, leads me to a question. What is the question, and where does the question come from? Who is asking the question? Is it when I have no place to turn, no support in the middle of the night to call, nothing to grab hold of, that my fear and pain are the result of my clinging to my issues and harboring guilt and shame and blame that no one else accounts for in this moment? Hearing the screaming, I realize it's me that's doing the screaming as though I'm falling. But where do I land? Where have I fallen from? While we all have and have had misfortune and suffering in the three dimensions of mind, body, and spirit in this life, these combined and infused experiences in my life into one breath, into one breathing in, one breathing out. So training of my mind, I'm using compassion and goodness that I am, my true nature, the Buddha nature, that is within all of us, awaken in that moment to realize my true nature. Though it was a flash, when I think I cannot go on any longer or take the next step, or when I cannot stop my habitual habits and patterns that do harm to me and others, it is then that my true nature arises. My spirit awakens. Now I have awoken to my true nature that is inherent within me. To walk in my life with eyes wide open, to have my eyes open in the intimacy of life. At times, awakening can be overwhelming to me, though. This is an excerpt from Records of Things Heard. Mind of the way is the spiritual awakening, enlightenment. If you can stop my heart from its ceaseless running after whispers of the will, I will not be different from the awakened path, nor the way of the saints of old. Mindful of one's thoughts, of actions, and acting for the sake of awakening all beings. None other than the one who here and now is listening while walking the path and sitting in silent illumination, unattached, body and mind released, falling away, and yet great intimacy in each moment. This is something to ponder. Psst, pay attention. Everything is your teacher. Listen deeply. A white heron is singing in the light of the full moon. The white heron is singing his song, alone, unseen, only heard, because it is his song to sing, unattached and yet authentic and intimate with each moment, with all things. Can you hear the silence of the heron's song? And Dogen says this: enlightenment is like the moon reflecting on the water. The moon does not get wet, nor is the water broken. Although it is light, its light is wide and great, the moon is reflected even in a puddle an inch wide. The whole moon and the entire sky are reflected in dewdrops on the grass, or even in one drop of water. I always like that. It brings me to the point of really seeing that at times. So this is the interconnectedness of all things and the connections of my thoughts that drive my actions in cycles of cause and effect. If to sit in silence is the result that causes my willingness to drop away, to drop what does not matter, to come to practice, to face my life in the present moment. Dogen encourages us with our practice by saying, cultivating our practice, our life, we are our daily activities, catching the moon, cultivating the clouds, yearning for the ancient ways as I walk the way one step after the next in daily activities and full presence. That was coming from a poem that Dogen wrote called Yearning for the Ancient Ways. The way of the patriarchs come from the west and transmit to the east, catching the moon, cultivating the clouds, untouched by worldly dust, fluttering about a thatched hut, snowy evening, deep mountain. I often think about that, about a practice that is so simple and so direct, that it is nothing but a thatched hut, a snowy evening, and a deep mountain. But we can touch all of that within our breath and within our practice. The way is before me. What is the question before me? Life experiences is the only way to know what the emptiness is and how to engage my inner knowledge. Another point, you yourself must make the effort to practice. Buddhas, those who have realized our awakening, only point the way. Those who have entered the path and who meditate in the present moment will be freed from fetter of illusion. That was from the Dharmapada, 276th stanza. My sojourn has been an enlightened, growing experience. I find myself in places that I had no idea of what could support me until I realized that there is no place to go with nothing to do. I do not have to fix everything or make it better. Learning to accept that I have no place to stand nor hold on to. Another reminder from those who have gone before. This increases my confidence and willingness to engage my life. Taizen Mayazumi Roshi says, where you stand, where you are, that's what your life is right here, regardless of how painful it is or how enjoyable it is. That's what it is. To stand there and be present with life. To flow with the ups and downs of everyday life, I choose to live my life intentionally, simply, no fear, with wholehearted effort and intent to be present and available to others to help and assist in their journey. To assist in their journey, which is tangent at the same time, parallel to mine, at the same moment in time. It is this connection with life that I find opens my heart, touching me deeply. And therefore, I naturally want to pass this awakening along. This way of releasing suffering with persistence and consistent effort of breathing in, rhythmic inhales and exhales, bringing me to the present moment. That's what I had prepared for this evening, but because of what has happened in Boulder, in the mass killing, I felt that I had to say something about that also. And this is something that just very quickly happened this afternoon. With the 10 tragic killings in our Boulder community just 2 days ago, and the 8 lives taken without consideration in Atlanta 6 days ago, I cannot fathom the suffering that has cascaded from one event to the next in a chain of horrors of suffering. The whole unholy ripping families apart in fractions of a second, leaving all throughout with no place to turn, nothing to hold on to, and nothing to say. To grieve these horrors is not imaginable, nor should it be. Is there a way to grieve these horrors? For me, the only to realize that I cannot change what has happened, but I can vow to end any hatred, indifference, separation, isolation within me, and help my fellow humans as they all bleed for these atrocities. To face these horrors with your breath, breathing in and breathing out in steady rhythmic cycles, breathing in the suffering, not to fix it, but to care for yourself and the pain and suffering of others. Thank you.